your interest rate is temporary, always. The purchase price is permanent, always.
Hello, and welcome to Change and the Market, your mindful guide to the ever-changing real estate world. My name is Peyton Beck. I'm sitting here at Masiello HQ, and joining me, as always, is our resident real estate expert, CEO, author, and your best friend, Chris Masiello. Chris, how are you doing today?
Good to be with you, Peyton. Good to be with everybody in our community. Well, that's certainly better than the bad boy of real estate last week. I like being everyone's friend. So
yeah, you're everyone's best friend. That's a big deal.
I know.
So Chris, what's up, man? What are we talking about today?
I think we just got off a company-wide call and with all of our agents just talking about the market, getting feedback from them about what's going on. And one of the things that kind of dropped into me was really about this market and how like the opportunity in this market kind of hides in plain sight. I think that's what I'd like to get into. Real estate right now is really operating way out of its traditional fundamentals, right? So a traditional fundamental for real estate, which has really been true since the end of the Second World War, as an economic model, has been higher interest rates would mean lower unit sales, would also mean either very, very low to no or to negative appreciation, right? Because the more interest rates go up, the less affordable housing becomes, right? So that would affect purchase price. We have just the opposite of that. So we have rising interest rates. We have slightly lower sales numbers because of the inventory, and we still have appreciating home prices. And so what really kind of strikes me is that, so where's the opportunity? And I think the opportunity really is hiding in plain sight. Right now, home appreciation is positive. It's not 20% like it was, a year ago or a year and a half ago, as we were kind of exiting the pandemic market. But it's still, depending on what market you're still in, maybe the low single digits or high single digits. Maybe in some markets, maybe coastal, you could be in, low double digits. And even though rates are high compared to what they were, a year ago or 2 years ago, your decision to buy now is that you're buying into still an appreciating market that is kind of taking a pause. And so, once rates go down, appreciation is going to tick back up again at I think a pretty brisk clip. And so buying now is you're really leaning into the market. And there's a couple of phrases that people use in the industry is that, you date the rate, but you marry the house. So the translation of that is that your interest rate is temporary, always. The purchase price is permanent, always. And so it seems counterintuitive to be thinking about buying now because interest rates are higher, but your rate is temporary. You might only have a rate for 18 months, 12 months, 24 months. And there's all sorts of refinance programs. You get a mortgage today, you want to refinance, 24 months from now, it's free or at a reduced cost. And so there's really a lot of incentive to do this now because a slightly higher rate is a lot cheaper than a higher sales price. Now, if you can't do it now, well, then you can't do it. And that's perfectly understandable. If you can, you have to start kind of looking at things differently. And I think that's where the hide in plain sight aspect of it is that most opportunity actually hides in plain sight.
That's really interesting. So kind of taking a step back from the buyer perspective, I bought recently, and we won't talk about my interest rate or anything like that, but it wasn't 4%. But we did do it because, we had a reason to move. Yeah. We had a child, all that good jazz. And I love my house. I'm very happy with it. But one of the things when I was buying that freaked me out was banks. And it was that idea of, not banks, that sounds a little harsh. I'm not like that kind of person, but the whole it seems weird to do all these mortgage things and get a higher rate, and trust this, it almost seems too good to be true. The idea that, you can get this awesome rate now and then it goes down because you refinance and all that stuff. this might sound like a too simplified question, but can you kind of walk through that for somebody who maybe is a little concerned about what that really looks like? And because I think one thing we're all afraid of is being duped, right? And ending up spending more money. And especially as this was like only my second home, right? So I'm not as experienced in the market.
Yeah, no, really good question. I mean, the refinance process is just as common as the purchase mortgage process. And basically, it's actually easier and cheaper in a lot of ways. So you would apply for a mortgage the same way you would when you did your purchase. And they would go through the same process: credit scoring, appraisal, credit check, all that type of stuff. If you use the same lender, there might be some discounting in fees. Typically you can do a refinance, or the shorter version of it is a refi. You can do a refi, in 30 to 60 days, and it's pretty painless, really. Yeah, I mean, the other aspect of the refinance process is that if you're a lender, it's one of the ways you make money. So they're more than willing to do it, because even though rates are going down, that's not necessarily where they make their money. They make their money on the points that get charged and processing fees and things like that. So to a lender, the rate is kind of irrelevant, really. In a consumer sense, it's kind of irrelevant, right? Rates go up, rates go down. They make as much money in a refinance market as they do in a purchase market. So, when rates were 2.75 and 3%, well, that was a heavy refinance market. Okay. And they made just as much money doing that. So it's just a common business practice. And I think from a personal strategy perspective, it is a very sound personal strategy that I'm going to buy this house now. My mortgage is going to be 6%. When rates drop to whatever your target is, 4.5 or 4, I'll refinance out of it. And that's a very, very common strategy, for managing personal wealth.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I think a lot of it is a strategy. I think that's whenever I purchased, I wanted to get my mortgage done and never think about it again. Like, in all honesty, because it's a lot of paperwork, it's a lot of process. It's honestly, it was the biggest purchase I've ever made, right? And I think that's how a lot of people are. So it's like, I want to get this done and I never want to think about it again. And maybe that's ignorant on my part, but I just it was so much. Thinking about having to redo anything was a little overwhelming, but it does make sense. Like, our finances, I mean, it's a lot. It's a strategy. That's what we're doing all the time.
I mean, nobody likes to go through paperwork but look, this I always tell everybody. It's just a moment in time. It's not forever. I exercise quite a bit, and I had someone tell me one time, it's part of a workout strategy. You can do anything for half a mile, which is true, and so you can do anything for half a mile. You can do anything for 30 days, right? You got to go through the 30-day process to refinance. And that's it.
Yeah,
that's
a good point.
And when it's over, it's like it never happened.
Yeah, no, that's a really good point. I think that's also kind of a good testament to a lot of if we're going into the more mindful side of things, right? Yeah. You can do anything for 30 days. There's a show called The Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt, and I won't get into it too details, but maybe some of our viewers know what I'm talking about. There's a scene where she talks about how you can do anything for 10 seconds. And that's like an ongoing theme of her kind of mentality. But it's super true. I think that's a very good mindset, especially as we're settling into a market that is so consistent.
Yeah, it's going to be very consistent.
Yeah, it's going to be, we can do anything for 10 seconds. We can do anything for a half mile, I think that's great. Yeah,
the refinance process, it is a perfectly sound, acceptable, competent strategy, right, for your personal wealth. People always like to time the tops and bottoms of markets, right? And to some degree, you should try to. But right now, inventory, we're not producing a lot of new homes, so there's not going to be a ton of inventory. There'll be some inventory, of course, right? There always is some. And really right now is the better time, because you're leading into an environment where the houses aren't appreciating as much. Interest rates being higher is kind of your friend right now, in that way. And if you can do it, now would be the time to do it.
Well, that's going to do it for us today on this episode of Changing the Market. Chris, thank you so much for your insights and kind of chatting with me, honestly, through some of my own personal struggles with with my mortgage. But yeah, because I do see a refinance happening in my future. But yeah, so that's going to do it. I would encourage anybody, a little shout out to the Wells area. If you guys are if you're around, we are having a grand opening for our new office on the 21st from 3 o'clock to 6. It's going to be really fun. They're going to have drinks, music, all the good stuff there. Show up and kind of just have a good time. Otherwise, be sure to follow us on social media, subscribe to whatever you're watching this on. That's Moss Yellow Group and Chris, or your best friend. I'll find that hashtag below. You can enjoy that. And yeah, hope you guys have a great week, and we'll talk to you later.
Yeah, thanks, Pete. Thanks, folks. Good to see you.
And joining me today, as always, is our resident real estate expert. So I'm trying to think of something. A resident real estate expert. Start over. Okay, we'll start over. Hey, we got the blooper out of the way, though. That's cool.